This is the Investing News Network. I'm Georgia Williams, and we're here in Toronto at PDAC 2026. Joining me today is Peter Berdusco, President, CEO, and Director of Canada One Mining. Thanks for joining me today, Peter.
Thanks for having me.
I was wondering if you could tell investors what your ticker symbol is and where your shares trade.
Sure. So we're listed on the TSX Venture under the symbol CONE, so cone. Yeah.
Perfect. It's the first day of PDAC. It's still a little bit early, but how's it been so far?
Yeah, I just walked the floor and the traffic's been really good. I'm not surprised. Obviously, with the metals prices that we have, right, with gold all-time highs, copper doing really well, investors are taking note and they want to attend this and learn more about companies and where they can place their money and make some good returns, right? As I would do as well. And yeah. I mean, I'm not only do I run a public company, Canada One, but I'm an investor as well. So it's good to ask a lot of questions, go around, talk to the companies, and get a sense of, okay, well, if I'm placing my money here, what kind of a return am I looking at? And I think it's nice, even in terms of this conversation that we're having, to sort of reverse engineer it in a way of, okay, let's look at it from the investor's perspective, right? And as an investor myself, what if I'm going to be investing in a junior? Canada One is a junior, right? We have a small market cap right now. What am I looking for in terms of a return, and what are the most important things? I mean, for me, I think the two most important things are, one is that obviously that price appreciation at some point. So what does a potential return look like for my company, for this company, right, or a company I'm investing in? So I think for me, when you're investing in junior markets, or junior resource companies, you got to be looking at 4 or 5 times return, right? And the second part of that is in a reasonable period of time, right? And that I think makes a lot of sense, right? For some of the risk allocation that you're putting into these companies. Not every company pans out, not every project pans out, right? So you have to be somewhat selective, right? Yeah. And I think that leads nicely into Copper Dome, our project, and what
Absolutely,
we're doing.
Yeah. And speaking of copper, you are developing the Copper Dome project in BC.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's great. So again, I'm going to try to hit off items that are important, check marks that are important for an investor. So first thing is we own the project. That's really good. So there's no payments, there's no risk of project loss. It's in the interior of BC. It's right next to Hudbay Minerals Copper Mountain Mine, producing Copper Mountain Mine. And that's very important in terms of geology. So the geology is very consistent, very similar to what Copper Mountain Mine has. And it's a copper porphyry target, or targets that we're looking at. These tend to come up in, if you will, like in pods. And so the opportunity within a 3, 4, or 5 kilometer area of having additional pods that haven't been discovered are very, very good. This project has historical drilling, and almost every drill hole hit on copper, gold, silver returns, and intervals and numbers that are suggestive that, hey, this is an interesting area, and it deserves further exploration. So, these were some of the key elements that, as a team, as a company, that drew a lot of interest for us with Copper Dome. And then just recently, last year, we received 5-year drill permits. So, again, from an investment standpoint, that's important because you want to look for roadblocks. So, what's a roadblock to that 4 or 5 times return, or what's a roadblock to near-term return? And having your 5-year drill permits is really key. It's very important. So we have we got blue sky there in terms of how much drilling we can do, right? So that's exciting. So we're currently in drill definition stage. There's geophysics that we need to continue to do, that gets us to real refined, defined drill targets. So yeah, it's going to be a great year. Yeah, and in terms of the project, we were good last year with sort of consistent news flow, and that news flow now is going to be consistent throughout the year as well as we do this geophysics work and sort of get to that drill ready stage.
Congratulations on the 5-year permit. I know,
Yeah, that's great.
especially in Canada,
Yeah.
that's a big milestone.
Yeah, it was really
so
nice.
congratulations.
It's really nice. It's a great talking
Yeah,
point.
absolutely. And so, will you be looking to extend the project or to drill other targets around the
Yeah,
area?
yeah. So we have a number of targeted zones right now that we really like. The Boundary Zone, Friday Creek, Copper Dome South is an area that we really like. And for example, Copper Dome South has a classic copper porphyry signature. So we'd like to really do some work there as well. We really like the Boundary Zone. And I haven't mentioned this, but in terms of proximity, which is important with geology especially, our boundary zone is on the northern border to on the northern border of Copper Mountain. And we're about 1.5 kilometers from their deposits.
Okay.
So, that's how close we are, right? So there's a number of zones. In terms of size, we have 12,000 hectares. So we got a good land position around Hudbay there. I'm pretty comfortable with that at this time. Not to say that maybe we wouldn't expand a little bit if it's prudent or if it makes sense, but there's definitely a good land position to do a lot of work.
And are you able to capitalize on some of the infrastructure that perhaps Hudbay put up, like roads or any electricity?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So over the years, some of the forest fires, pine beetle issue, had helped us in terms of, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, there's not very much of a forest there, right? It's a lot of low-lying shrubs and what have you. So that clearing has already kind of been done, which is really nice. And yes, there are the roads that are going through the property and through the area, and we're just off the highway as well.
Yeah.
So infrastructure is great. Crew can be in Princeton, and it's a short, quick drive to the property and everything. And that's another from an investor perspective that's important. You look at other projects, for example, Golden Triangle. These are cost intensive. Okay, they're just, you can spend a lot of money in one season, right? They're helicopter, in terms of access, helicopter costs can really add up. And so we're not dealing with any helicopter costs. We're not dealing with in a remote area, a remote location, or a really short season type of thing. That was really another big factor. And I think for as an investor, I look for that as well, in terms of companies that I want to put money in. I put my own some personal capital in last year as well. So I think that's important too, that I'm not only speaking it, but I'm putting money where my mouth is in terms of a project that I believe in and want to drive forward.
Yeah, and as an investor, I'm sure you're also aware of the importance of jurisdiction, especially in this sort of resource nationalism era that we're moving into. And BC is a very great jurisdiction. Can you tell us about what it's like to work in the province?
Yeah, it's really good. Candidly, the permit process, could be faster, but we got it. We got it through. It's okay. We're not dealing with a premium on U.S. dollars. So, anything outside Canada, slap on another, 35% onto your costs. So we don't deal with that. Being in a pine beetle area and with tax credits, we get about 30 cents back on every exploration dollar.
Yeah.
It's really good. That can add up. You spend $1 million, you're getting 300,000 back for next year. Yeah. It's attractive. So I like BC. I'm very comfortable with it. I'm from BC. And so, 3.5 hours and we're on site.
Yeah. That's really nice.
Really good, right? Yeah.
Like you said, there's the flying helicopters and having to go remote, so that is lovely.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the website, you talk about how deposits are getting more complex and harder to access. To address these challenges, Canada One is deploying some cutting-edge technology. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, these high-grade or at-surface deposits, and a lot of companies are talking about this, they're not easily found anymore. And a lot of these deposits now that are being discovered are undercover. And so there's no indication at surface that there's anything there. You can't just easily sample. So we've employed what's called mobile metal ion technology. And this is a sampling technology that's been around for 15, 20 years. And I like it. It actually samples the ions that are coming off of the metals subsurface.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a whole technical scientific process. I'm not going to get into that. But it's one indicator. And I want to really be clear with our audience here that we're not solely doing that and then, okay, we're done, right?
Right.
So you want independent layers of the technical work that you're doing. So you have, that's one layer. You create another layer with your geophysics, IP, mag, right? And that builds on your story and refines to a comfort point, right? So the MMI is inexpensive and it's relatively quick way to get a sense of what potentially is buried or below surface. And that could be anywhere from 50 meters, 25, 50 meters to 200, 300 meters. So we ran this at the boundary zone and we identified an elevated area of copper, gold, and silver ions, a kilometer by a kilometer square, a kilometer and a half squared, right? That's a good size, right? And in terms of, porphyry size or something that adds up to something meaningful, again, from an investor standpoint, that's the kind of size you're looking for. The typical, so Copper Mountain has a super pit now, but before the super pit, they were 3 or 4 individual pods. And the average tonnage was 150 to 250 million tons. So one discovery on our side, if hopefully there's one pod, right?
Yeah.
That's on our property, boundary zone, we'll see, Friday Creek. If it's typical of what is happening at Copper Mountain, similar geology, then we'd be looking at 150, 250 million tons, right?
Yeah.
We're not there, right? And that's forward looking. That's what we do, right? But it's important to state that, that's the vision. The vision is, okay, let's do the work, let's do the prep work, have our targets defined, and then drill for success. And we hit, a good interval with numbers that are comparable to Copper Mountain of 0.25, 0.3, 0.4. Then we're off to the races, so to speak, in terms of defining a resource and seeing what that looks like. And our neighbor, their resources are anywhere from 150 to 250 million tons. So, we're okay. Well, maybe we got something like that on our side if we can prove out that path.
Right. And you've stated in the past that the upside is the number one reason to invest in the junior exploration space. Can you identify the upside in Canada One?
Yeah, great. So I mentioned, I think, a lot of these at this point. News flow moving forward, completing our field work or that gives us that drill definition, those defined drill targets, right? Yeah. And then moving towards a drill program. These are great catalysts as we move into the year, right? Off of PDAC here and move into the year. One thing I didn't mention, Canada One's market cap is under 5 million, right? So we talk about, okay, what's a 4 or 5 times return? What's that look like? Let's do it in terms of market cap. We're going from 5 million market cap to 25 million market cap. In this bull market that we're going to be in for a while, a great, excellent, exciting bull market, that's still a very humble, a very reasonable market cap, right? And there's no reason for this company not to build and operate and develop a project to 75, 100 million market cap. Yeah. So those are great upsides.
Yeah, absolutely. And with, Hudbay next door as well, you have that potential for resource expansion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's a lot of caveats to that, and we're definitely far from that. But it's nice to be able to speak to Copper Mountain being there. It's nice to know the geology has yielded good results at Copper Mountain. And it's just a great neighbor to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. What should investors be on the lookout for besides the things that you had mentioned? I know you were talking about drilling and you were talking about the news flow. Is there anything in particular investors should keep their eye out for?
We're just going to be as active in the market as we can, and there's a lot of different angles to that. But we really want to engage with investors. We want to really get the story out there. I think to a good degree, the last number of years, our story hasn't been really getting out there. And with this market, and there's been some price appreciation with our drill permits. It's really time for us to just really engage with the market, engage with investors, get the story out there, and really build this and execute.
Yeah, what an exciting time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me today, Peter.
Thanks for having me so much. Thanks.
I'm Georgia Williams, and that was Peter Berdusco with Canada One.